Good morning and good afternoon for those tuning in. And if you're watching this recording later, this is today's public review for Agile Hive for Agile Cloud for Thursday, November 7th. And my name is Joshua Brock. I'm a technical content writer and SBC with Agile Hive. And I am stepping in for Daniel, who is on his way back from the RTE Summit in Amsterdam. He was uncertain if he would be able to get back in time, so he wanted to just make sure that this went on as scheduled. So he asked me to step in, which I was happy to do. I certainly don't have the depth that Daniel does, so I will do my best to pass along the information he gave to me. It is good that it's Susanna here as well, so if there's anything technical that comes up, she can jump in and, as an assist to help me. So as usual, we just list the Agile Hive review to your calendar so that it shows up monthly. It's always the first Thursday of each month, so you can add that there via the link from our website. Our LinkedIn page, as you see there, and YouTube channel is also listed. And our next review is on that first Thursday in December, which is December 5th. So quickly coming up on the end of the year. As usual, we'll start with a couple of general updates. The biggest one being most recent was the SAFE Summit that a few of us attended in Washington, D.C. back in the middle of October. As usual, the folks at SAFE put on a great conference. We were there from Sunday through Wednesday. Myself here from the States, but then we also had Daniel, Yannick, Valine, and one of our colleagues from Kegon was also in attendance. Great sessions, great time on the floor, meeting some new folks. It was a really great time. So we enjoyed ourselves, and hope to see everyone on the other side of the pond for the European Summit as well. And based on that summit, we did a little write-up for the blog, which you can find on the website. All good things must come to an end. Just a little lighthearted look at our couple days there at the conference, so you can get an idea how that shaped up. So when you get a chance, head on over to the blog and give it a read. As usual, we point out the 30-day evaluation period for Agile Hive, which is standard via the Atlassian Marketplace, free standard access to the app for 30 days. However, as we always like to point out, you can always reach out via the service desk to extend it, because we understand working with a tool as complex as Agile Hive will most often take more than 30 days. So we're always happy to extend that to you if that's needed. Product updates and demo. So we'll dive in here in a little bit. The dev team is aiming to release any new functionality, bug fixes, and improvements as soon as they're completed. Since the last review we had in October, the team managed to release 3 new versions of Agile Hive as they invested a great deal of capacity with technical issues and updating technical product components. And just as a reminder, you can always reference the change log to stay up to date on those changes. Just as an additional reminder, just in case, for those of you who don't take a regular look at the Jira's Universal Plugin Manager, there was a major version update for Agile Hive for Jira Cloud in September, and that needs to be installed manually by your Jira administrator to take advantage of the latest functionality that's available. So you may want to just double check your site just to make sure everything's up to date and ready to go, because that happened back on September 11th, I believe. So before we take a look here, just an overview of 3 of the new features Daniel wanted us to highlight for you. Compact issue card layout in all of Agile Hive's board views, which you'll see here in a second. Makes it a little bit easier to read as you're going through some very detailed screens. You can give yourself a little bit more screen real estate to see what's what. Manual mapping of Jira sprints with PI iterations for Agile Hive projects on team level. And then creating new issues directly from the team planning boards, which is pretty slick, and I'll be happy to show that here in a sec. So the first and third features are available in data center version already. So this brings parity between the data center version in Agile Hive Cloud on those two features specifically. So in addition, the team also noted that they worked very hard, as they always do, to improve the overall performance of the app, as well as fix some of the bugs that had been reported. So I'm going to take a switch over here to Agile Hive. So we're going to take a look at the second feature that I mentioned, the manual mapping of Jira sprints with PI iterations for Agile Hive projects on a team level. So two use case scenarios. The first one being some teams historically used to create sprints on their own. They want to wait for the admins to create a PI in Agile Hive that automatically generates all the sprints for them. So with the new feature, those teams can proceed working like they used to inside of Jira. And then administrators can create a new PI and simply change the mapping for each iteration to one of the Jira sprints that the team had already set up. So that's scenario one. Scenario two would be after migrating Agile Hive from server or data center to cloud, there might be some issues where manually setting up PIs and iterations have to take place again. Sprint mapping helps the admins to conveniently connect sprints with their respective iterations again, which enables the teams to continue planning in cloud seamlessly. So we take a look, and again, this is something that only your admin would do at the team level. We're going in through the project settings, the boards and sprints. This part was available, I believe, in the last iteration, and what was added here is what I discussed, the sprint mapping. So at the top of the page, you can set the primary board used by this team level project. And then at the bottom, this is where the new sprint mapping functionality occurs. So as of now, all your current and future PIs can be configured here. You simply expand and collapse the PI you want to edit from the list. So for this one, obviously these have already passed, so those cannot be changed. But this would be for the upcoming one, in our case, November 17th through the 30th. So from that drop down, you can select the respective sprints that apply. Okay, so that was the sprint mapping feature. Let's see if I can hop over to the other panel here. Looks like it. Yeah, so this is on the compact issue card layout. So the user case scenario would be when you're working with a large number of issues, obviously your boards can get very confusing quite fast. So this compact layout helps to the better overview of the current state planning by fitting more issue cards on the screen. And so the way this function is this new button here, and you'll see right now we're looking at the compact view, and simply clicking on extended gives you a little bit more information to what your tickets are out there on the board. You can then also select the option to hide empty parents that are also listed there, or collapse the swim lanes, which gives you a little bit more real estate to work with. Yeah, so and that's throughout here, kind of at the team level, but also the art level. So all the board views in Agile Hive, the team planning board, roadmaps, art planning board, they have the same feature, the view that's available. So you can use that functionality in any of those. Let's see, so that new card compact layout for issue cards is automatically set as the default, but you can change the layout at any time. And so once I set it here on one screen, if I go into another, it changes it for that as well. So if I'm in compact view for one, it'll be in compact view for another. So kind of a nice little functional feature there, just to be able to view things a lot more efficiently, I think. Clean up some screen real estate on the screen. So the final one, let's see here if I've hopped over. So this is creating new issues directly from the team planning boards, which I'm in here for Team Bronx on the planning board. And so as you can see, as I'm moving over, you'll see that it's giving me the option now to create an issue directly from there. I have access to be able to set it, Storybug enabler, fill this out, assigns it to the iteration 3. There it goes, tells me I've created it, yes. And then as always, if I go in, you'll see the information you need, but it does the work on the back end to assign it to the what PI it's involved, the sprint that it's assigned to, and then you can continue to add any of your information from there. So again, another piece of functionality that makes things a lot easier for you to create issues directly on the board and assign them exactly where you want them, as opposed to creating them and then having to drag them onto the screen. Now, one thing Daniel did mention to me that they're going to look to do is that, as you can see, I created an enabler up here. If I do a new one, it wants to start at the top of the default, which is story. But let's say you're doing a group of enablers or bugs, which is probably the case for a lot of folks. They're doing all a number of those in succession. So they're working on a way, I believe now. So if I've set enabler as my first ticket, it's going to assume, oh, he probably wants to do another enabler and make that as the default. So that was something that Daniel noticed that they're going to try and implement as well. And certainly, as always, you can always move items on the board once they're there, but now you have the ability to do things right on the board as opposed to creating and then dragging them across. Yeah, so those were the three features that Daniel wanted me to go through. So very some hard work that's being done on those. So again, the compact issue card layout, manual mapping, Jira sprints with PI iterations, and creating new issues directly from the team board. So pretty slick stuff. Okay, so moving on. So now we are in the talking about migrating to cloud. Second version of the migration path from Agile Hive server data center to cloud is close to being completed. So currently the team is finishing internal testing regarding performance and stability at scale for enterprise size Jira sites. The updated version of the migration path will be available within the next 7 to 14 days. Daniel was pretty certain about that, but that's kind of what he's looking for, between 1 and 2 weeks. And as always, for more details, you can always refer to the knowledge base article that's located at the address you see there on the slide. So taking a look at the short-term roadmap, some of the features they're working on right now: prototype implementation of flow metrics. So the work is still ongoing. They're evaluating ways to provide selectric metrics based on Agile Hive data. Art reports list dependencies based on the art planning board versus the roadmap. The team had received some requests from customers that the current version of art dependency report is not really perceived useful, as it displays dependencies based on the roadmap plan instead of the actual committed PI plan as displayed in the art planning board. So they're currently changing the dependency overview widget's behavior to display dependencies based on the art level. It looks like they're planning for the end of November for that release. So that should be ready by the time this review happens in December. And I believe Daniel had mentioned that's the way the DC version functions. So they want to match that parity, because that's apparently the feedback they received, that the DC version functionality that worked more to the way people felt was most appropriate. The last one, extending Agile Hive permission concepts down to the project level. So this is an enterprise level requirement, but it can be used for smaller organizations to help spread permissions across multiple people for specific projects. So for instance, maybe you don't want every RTE to be able to edit PIs for all the arts in your organization. This gives you that more granular control over it. Those permissions build upon the default Jira permissions entities, and will cover most of the common cases, like managing PIs and iterations, or accessing the project settings from Agile Hive. So again, in a nutshell, it gives you more granular control. And yes, the migration from DC to cloud the work for that is ongoing. But again, you can find updates to that all the time on the website at the C-roadmap for updates on that. And then just a quick look at the roadmap coming up between now and the end of the year. So implementation for integration of existing arts into existing solution trains. Coming up in December, reports for solution trains and portfolios. Between current and end of year evaluation implementation for Jira custom permissions. And then in December, we work the planning for art level features. And as mentioned, continued prototyping for implementation of flow metrics is ongoing. And as always, as you would expect, usability and performance improvements always going on. The last one, the migration path for Agile Hive from on-prem to cloud. Daniel just wanted to point out that they're going to continue that work through the month of November, December. The impression I was getting from Daniel is they want to sort of take a break and then do some testing, get feedback from users, see how that's working before they proceed with continuing to work on that. So that's where that's at. He and the team just want to get some feedback after they've done the work in the current month, just to see how those are playing out through the month of December, and then they'll continue that work for improvements, stability issues, or performance issues. So that's kind of where they're at with that. And yes, I believe that's pretty much everything that Daniel had passed along. So again, just to review making sure to add to your calendar this monthly review, which is always the first Thursday of each month. If you haven't already added us or followed us on LinkedIn, to do so. And then you can always find the content, including the recording for this presentation will come to YouTube as soon as it's ready, and move on through November and see you back here on December 5th.